Crows are one of the animals that's really associated with this time of Hallowtide, and they truly are amazing animals. Here's 5 facts you may not know about them. Number 1, let's just begin with one of the fundamental things to remember, and that is crows and ravens are from the same genus, and that's the Corvus, and that there are 40 different species within the Corvus genus. Of course, that is up to the recording of this video because you never know when scientists may discover or put into the category of the Corvus a new bird. Did you know that crows have something that almost seems to be like a funeral? When a dead crow's body is observed by other crows, a large gathering will surround and go around the deceased bird's body. And this gathering can be 100 or more crows. And there does seem to maybe be a ritual element to it. Some scientists and scholars believe that this gathering may have to do with trying to understand threats to their lives, as in, what happened to this crow? What was the threat and how can I avoid it? So is it a crow funeral or perhaps a team of CSI crows? We're not really sure. Crows have consciousness. A 2020 study discovered that crows are aware of the world around them in a present moment. And this means that they have subjective experiences. And this was a huge finding because the only other animals that have been discovered to have this level of consciousness so far are humans and primates. Now, this doesn't mean that we won't discover a lot more animals have consciousness, or at least this primary level of consciousness. And I also believe that there's probably a lot we don't understand about consciousness and perhaps different consciousness levels that we haven't discovered and may be different from our own. But still, it's very fascinating to learn that that crows themselves do have a sensory consciousness that's similar to our own. Crows have regional dialects, so while we may just hear caw-caw to our own ears, when crows are communicating with one another, they make all sorts of noises and sounds, and these sounds are very much part of a regional dialect. So when a crow goes to a new area, the dialect will be different, and they may be listening to some of the more popular crows to discern what that regional dialect is and imitate it so that they can fit in and understand the dialect that's in that area. If there's one thing you remember from this video, I hope it's that crows know your face and they hold a grudge. There was a fascinating study that was done where some researchers were going to tag some crows. And what they would do every time they went into the area, they would don a specific mask. And they'd have to trap the birds to tag them and then let them go. They didn't harm the birds, but that's not a pleasant experience to begin with necessarily, but also when they let go of the birds, they'd sort of make a nasty noise at them. And they discovered that when they'd return to the area wearing the same mask or have other people wearing the same mask, the birds would dive bomb at them and sort of yell and caw at them. And not only the birds that had been tagged, but also crows that had been in the area and had seen what this face had done. And this study went on to have people put on the mask and go to the area. And up to 5 years later, that face was still remembered and still dive bombed and attacked and yelled at. And another fascinating part of this study is that birds that weren't even born when the initial stages of this study had begun, well, they weren't even around, but they had learned somehow about this face and would join in on attacking whoever had that mask on. So be wary of how you treat the crows in your area. Thanks so much for watching Gently Being. If you like this video and want to watch more Hallowtide themed videos, you can hit the hashtag down below or be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for spending time with Gently Being.